What's up, everyone? Rich Schneider right here of the Night Report. National Signing Day Part 2. Nowhere near as exciting as Part 1. Anyway, today we're going to be talking to recruiting analyst and Ryan Patty, guys you're very familiar with if you're on the boards, posting nonstop daily recruiting reports, getting the latest updates on visits, the latest commitment articles too, if you want to go that far. Other than them, we're also going to talk to TKR film analysts and former college football players. Anthony Siciliano used to play quarterback at the college level, and then former Nevada linebacker Alex Simpson. These two guys are a part of our team. They kind of help us break down film on recruits and kind of describe what their game's like and get a little more in depth on how good they can be in the future playing at Rutgers and so on, maybe even in the NFL at some point. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button right here, I think. Just hit that subscribe button real quick for me. Appreciate that. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, guys, Rich Schneider right here. I'm back. With Ryan Patty, one of our recruiting analysts on the site. Ryan, great to have you here. Let's talk a little Rutgers recruiting. 2021 or 2020 signing day part 2. Awesome. So now, you said Wesley Bailey. How important was it to get that kid signed in the early period? I know Minnesota was obviously after him. They had that quick official visit. He technically never took one to Rutgers until after he signed. But how important is it to get a guy with that like that without even visiting campus before?
It's huge, and I mean, it just shows you what Coach Giano's building. I talked to Coach Augie Hoffman at Irene Power signing day. Mm-hmm. I was one of the only people there. And I was telling him about Wesley Bailey. This is before Coach Hoffman even took the Rutgers job. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, who are they looking at? I'm like, oh, they might get this Wesley Bailey kid. Minnesota's after him, Illinois a little bit. He's like, oh, that's winnable. So, mm-hmm. He's just another guy that the coaches love.
So let's go back to Augie Hoffman a little bit. You're pretty familiar with him. Your brother played underneath him. What does he bring to this Rutgers staff? I know he doesn't have any college coaching experience technically, but he's been an offensive lineman at the college level, the NFL level. What can he bring to this staff as the running backs coach?
I think it's a great addition. I mean, I think definitely on the recruiting end, he's going to help a lot. You see all those big North kids already targeting in 2021. Mm-hmm. He loves Gino Vandemark, and Gino Vandemark loves him back. Mm-hmm. In the article I just put out, Gino said, he's already making, his former players want to play for him again. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge quote. From a 4-star guy. We have him as a 4-star on our site. So if you can get a guy like him in the next cycle, if you can get, Audric Estimates, you can go on and on and on. Those kind of players, it's going to pay dividends for your program, and the rebuild is going to be a lot quicker than you would have thought.
So now, obviously, you read the boards. I'm on the boards all the time. Augie Hoffman has never recruited at the college level. How much of a concern is that going forward?
I mean, you definitely want a guy that's had experience before, but he's played, college football. He knows what the recruiting process is all about. He's helped kids at St. Joe's with their recruiting processes. He went on to play at the professional level. He's kind of seen it all, whether as a coach or a player. But it's going to be a little different, recruiting college kids. It's a more daunting process. They have a bunch of coaches texting them at once. It's hectic for the kids. Hectic for the coaches, but I think that Augie is going to be, good on the recruiting trail, specifically in New Jersey, which the Chris Ash brass was not good with.
Okay. So now going a little off topic here, Coach Morangi, if I got that right, he took over?
Yes.
So
Morangi,
okay. What are your thoughts on him so far? I know he's been, I think, associate head coach previously?
Yeah, he was the D coordinator. He helped Augie out a lot. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good addition for St. Joe's. Well, not addition, they made the in-hire in staff. But I think it's good. You want to have that in-house guy. Augie's had good assistant coaches. And, I just think that he's the right guy. A lot of people said Nick Campanelli, and then obviously he got promoted at DePaul. But I think that Coach Morangi is the guy you want. He knows the kids well, coached a good defense past couple of years. I think he's the right guy for them.
All right, we're going to stick with that St. Joe's defense a little bit. Elijah Mack is coming to Rutgers. They need safety help. He's a prototypical safety. What can he bring in year one?
He's a thumper. I mean, I'm smiling because I can't believe that Rutgers landed a kid this good right away. in the new regime. And I think it's just a really good addition. He's all over the field, makes plays in coverage, but he's more known for his hitting. He can blitz a little bit too. I just think he's the guy that Coach Gino wants. Another guy with size and speed. It's the perfect combo for a defensive back.
Okay. So now you mentioned Nick Campanelli getting the DePaul job. I think starting in 2021, if I recall that correctly. So he's going to get the job. His brother Nunzio has been at Rutgers for a little over a year now. He was the interim head coach. He kind of retained most of this recruiting class, pretty much. How important is he on this recruiting trail?
I think that, to have, are you talking about Nunzio or?
Yeah, Nunzio. How important is it to have Nunzio on that staff and secure this class and then to be on the staff for the next year and the next regime coming in?
Oh, it's huge. And, I think the big thing is that all the kids saw him in that tough role last year. He took over what was just, a complete turmoil, really. You get a bunch of changes in the coaching staff. He's forced to step up and take over a program that only had one win at the time. And, he did a good job. And I think a lot of the kids took notice of that, both on the roster and, on the recruiting trail. The kids on the roster want to stay. The kids on the recruiting trail want to come there. It's big to have a guy like Coach Nuns in the program, sticking around. And no matter what role he had, what position, I think that it's just important that he's there for the kids. The kids love him.
So I know Rutgers didn't sign a ton of dudes in the second period. Little to none, actually. Who in that first signing period of those 17 high school kids really stands out to you?
Well, I find it interesting that Siciliano got, 10 kids in those 2 weeks in December?
Yeah, something like
10
that.
of the 17 kids in the early signing period in December. Just a ridiculous overhaul right away for Coach Siciliano. But, I love Sean Collins. Even before Siciliano got there, he's a guy that Rutgers would be very, great to have him on the on next year's roster. A lot of size, a lot of athleticism. He played a lot of defensive end this past year, but he's going to come in and be a good tight end, good big body security blanket for whoever starts under center. And I love Chris Long. I mean, Chris Long's got.
I hate to cut you off real quick. Going back to Sean Collins real quick, he was listed as an athlete when they signed him. You're thinking tight end. You're thinking defensive end. What's the consensus there?
I'm thinking tight end. I think he's got two good hands to be used on defense. He's still a little raw.
Okay.
Blocking wise, he said he got a little better with that over the course of the year. Route running a little bit too. He'll need to work on, but I think his hands are too good to use him anywhere else.
Okay. So now my bad without cutting you off, but go back to Chris Long, leading receiver in South Jersey, but he's going to play DB at Rutgers. What kind of is there a little concern there that he's going to take South Jersey's leading receiver in all-time history? He's going to go play DB.
I think he's got good enough ball skills where he can play wherever. I think the athleticism is there, the size is there. You're seeing the trend with Coach Siciliano, the guys with size, and that's what Chris Long has. I think if you get him in a college weight room, he's going to put on weight. He's going to get physical with the wide receivers. He's going to be a good guy to have in the secondary, alongside Malachi Melton, another guy who played a lot of receiver in South Jersey, but he's got the ball skills to play DB. I think these are two good guys to have moving forward for this program. Good program guys.
How big was it to flip him from Temple, though? I know Temple's not the biggest program in the world, obviously, but just to have Fran Brown on staff and to flip that guy real quick.
I think it must have been one of Fran Brown's first orders of business. You saw a couple of the guys he brought in. He brought in Long. He brought in Beam. He wants to get those guys that he had those relationships with at Temple, over to Rutgers, and I think it's huge. I think you're starting to see an even bigger pipeline down there now, down in that Philly, Delaware, Maryland area, Virginia. I think it's going to be huge moving forward. And like I said, I think it had to be one of his first orders of business. That's a guy we thought that Chris Ash would have been able to land. And I don't know if he was a take or not under Ash, but it seemed like they kind of strayed away from him, and that's why he ended up with Fran Brown at Temple. So it's huge to get him back where we thought he would be at first.
So Siciliano's been here, I want to say 2 months almost now? Maybe not even close, not even yet, I guess.
Yeah, it's been 2 months.
Okay, so thoughts so far as recruiting-wise? I know he's sent out a ton of offers. He's a ton of kids on visits. What are your thoughts on this staff so far in this regime compared to Ash a little bit, I guess?
I think it's a good start. We talked about it on one of the posts. They're getting the kids on preferred walk-on offers that Coach Ash was struggling to get with scholarships. And it's definitely interesting. It's definitely a huge step forward. And I like what Coach Giano's doing right now. He's doing the things that we kind of expected him to do when he first got here. Try to flip some kids. Target the Jersey kids who weren't maybe targeted as much under Coach Ash. He's going after those guys, and it's paying off right now. Everyone's buying into it, and I think in the next cycle you're going to see that, on another level. I think it's going to get even better.
So speaking of preferred walk-ons, I know Rutgers just added one guy, Tayshaun Brinson. They're most likely going to add a couple others. I know you recently just had a post on Stanley Dennis. Thoughts on these preferred walk-ons? I know some of them borderline scholarship guys. I believe Brinson was actually a scholarship guy at Stony Brook. But what are your thoughts on some of these walk-ons? I know preferred walk-ons don't always pan out, but some do. So what do you think so far?
Well, I love Tayshaun Brinson, first of all. They at Paramus Catholic is where I watched most of them. But they ran a lot of gadget plays. They did a lot of different things with him in the backfield and taking direct snaps. But another guy I love is Nasir Montgomery. Okay. Now, people are saying that he can play wide receiver, DB. I think that this is a guy where you want the ball in his hands. He played quarterback at East Orange. He was a pretty good quarterback, took good care of the ball, could move around a little bit, and just an overall good athlete. Another kid with size. This is the prototype of player that Coach Giano likes. He likes a guy with size, athleticism, adaptability, can do a bunch of different things for you. So I like Nasir Montgomery probably the most out of the PWOs, but like you said with Brinson, he's another guy that can really, provide some depth and, some good practice competition for the starting unit.
So it's interesting. You kind of look at some of the guys on the team now, and like Isaiah Pacheco. Now you're looking at recruits and Irene Power and Nasir Montgomery. These guys all played quarterback, but they're not going to play quarterback at this next level. Do you feel playing quarterback in high school kind of helps these guys or kind of hurts them a little bit?
I guess it really all depends on what that team needs, what that respective high school team needs. Yeah. Obviously, Corey Walker's another kid for next year's cycle at Barringer who played quarterback. It's all about, being put in that tough situation and seeing how that player reacts, how they adapt to that situation. I think a lot of those kids, I do think that Montgomery does have some skill at quarterback. He showed it, in all 4 years, half of this past year. But these are athletes. These are kids that can adapt, and I think that's a type of quality that Giano likes. And that's why he's targeting these kids. They're special kind of kids.
Of course. So now moving forward a little bit, you were talking a little bit previously about Fran Brown and the future classes of he's got that South Jersey connection. Nunzio and Augie have that North Jersey connection. Who in this 2021 class are you looking at right now that has a good chance to end up at Rutgers?
Like I just mentioned, I think that you get a kid like Corey Walker, and he's got a good shot. Yeah. You look at the two West Side kids, Kyrie Banton and Shaquan Loyal. Those are two kids that I think they're going to target. Those are kids that Coach Ash, I know we're kind of just going after Coach Ash here, but
top 10 kids, though.
These are kids that he would have struggled to land with the state of the program, how it was. But Coach Giano, he's implementing, the chop in the wood. He's bringing these kids hope, and these are the Jersey kids that you want in your program moving forward. And they're all good athletes, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, those are the kids you want, the kids with the size, the kids with the speed, that perfect combo you want on that side of the ball. Those are three kids that I think that they can reel in and maybe even, pretty quickly, maybe this spring.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. How many 4-stars are they going to land in 2021?
I'm just going to say one, and I'm going to give you my guy. I think it's going to be Gino Vandemark. I'm going to bring up that quote again.
I'm going to tell you right now, fans are going to love that, but they're also going to hate you for only saying one.
Yeah, no, of course, but it's going to take time. The 4-stars, those battles take time to win in your first year back. I know Shiano's been here. He's got good, Jersey connections, but it's going to take time for him to step back in and start winning some of those big battles to the Michigan pipeline wasn't there when he was here. Ohio State's coming and gotten guys. Penn State, you can name all the Big Ten and even the ACC schools and SEC schools that have come into Jersey and started recruiting pretty hard. So it's going to take time, but I think that they're in a good spot with Vandemark because of Augie. I mean, Augie is loved by a lot of those kids in the Big North, and I think that Gino's a guy that that will buy in. I really do believe that.
So I asked Anthony later in this episode to get his answer on this. Augie as running back coach, how many question marks are there being that he's never been he's never been a running back. He's been the head coach of St. Joe's. I know he's had some really good running backs, but he's an offensive lineman, college, high school, through and through, NFL, through and through. He's an offensive lineman. How hard is that to be a running backs coach at the next level?
It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. He called the offense last year for Joe's. They're a run-first team. They run the ball a lot. They used a lot of their backs. You got SMA, Andre Epps, Trey Powell, as we know. They used a variety of guys. They do a lot of jet sweeps. They do a lot of gadget stuff. So he knows kind of, the different ways you can utilize the backfield. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to focus a lot on the offensive line perspective of it, waiting for holes to create and stuff like that, following your blocks the right way. But I think that it's going to take a little bit of time. It definitely will. But I think it's a thing that's going to work out. And, if you're Rutgers, you get it to work out any way you can because he's a great hire. He almost took the Miami Dolphins offensive line job last year. So he's, a guy of that was of high priority for a lot of different programs and franchises. But I think it's going to work out over time. But right away, it's going to take some getting used to for him for sure.
I mean, definitely a big get for Rutgers. Obviously, he has the best position group on, arguably on the entire team with Pacheco, Aaron Young, and all that. K-Ron Allen's back there. So it should be a simple transition. I like to think, at least. Let's talk a little bit more about the 2020 signees. Who's going to make the immediate impact on that entire class?
It's interesting. I think that a guy like Brian Felter could come in and get a couple reps. I don't know how many. The offensive line's kind of still trying to take form. They lost Maietti, of course. We got to see how those situations play out. What position Felter will actually play. He's versatile enough to play any of the positions. My guess is he'll probably play tackle, but
could he step into that center role maybe?
Yeah, it's possible. He's that. He moves well. That's the big thing with Felter. He moves very, very well, and he's physical. He's physical enough to play any of the positions. But my guess is tackle, just because he moves so well. You want him to be able to, hold off those edge rushers. He's got a quick first step. I like that about Brian. But he's a guy that I think could step in and make an impact right away. And I think Amir Robinson, can come in and be that maybe fourth or fifth receiver, can come in shotgun sets, 4 wide sets and make an impact. He's got the size. He's, got great hands. I don't think I've ever seen him drop the ball in the handful of games or so I've saw him play. He's a perfect addition for the receiving corps. And a guy who was, capable of playing big-time football anywhere. So I think those are two guys who I think Rutgers should be very, very happy with and can make an impact right away on the offense.
I mean, if you've seen what we've mentioned on the board during some of those practice reports, it was drop after drop after drop after drop, and sometimes it's rough to see. But I mean, if Amir Robinson can come in and make that little bit of an impact, it'd be nice. But now, question for you: we've seen him at the Rivals camp. We've seen him at the Union High School championship game. We've seen Amir Robinson a ton this season. Can he play on the outside, or is it just like more of a slot guy? What are you thinking there?
I think he's got size to play on the outside, but he's a good enough route runner where he can work a little inside too, and he's pretty quick. Doesn't have that breakaway speed, but he's quick enough within the first 5 yards of the line of scrimmage or so to beat his guy, to beat the nickel or the dime, whoever's covering him. I think he's capable of playing either spot. And I think that he's just a guy that you'd love to have for this quarterback class, or this quarterback room, I should say. Just a big target with good hands, a guy you can lean on to make a tough catch or two, a guy you can lean on to get open, on third down. He's that type of guy. It might not happen right away, but it's going to happen over time for sure.
So you mentioned quarterback room, Evan Simon, this class. I want your thoughts on him, and then I also want your thoughts on the 2021 quarterback class that seems to be stacked in New Jersey right now with the top half.
Yeah, I remember we saw him last year at the Elite 11 regionals down in Florham Park. That was, I think, in April, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we were watching him throw. We're like, oh, this kid can throw. He's got, a couple offers to other schools. I wonder where he ends up. Yeah. And then all the names started coming off the board for Rutgers. And then all of a sudden we're like, I think they got to go and get this kid. And they did. Yeah. And he's got good arm strength. He threw a tight little spiral when we were watching him at that camp. He looked good. I haven't gotten the chance. Mannheim, PA is very far out. I haven't gotten the chance to watch him play, but I do like him a lot. I think that he's a good guy for the room. Like a Cole Snyder is going to come in. He's going to push the top couple guys, and he's going to try to make a case for him to be in that quarterback battle late in training camp and late in July, August.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We were talking about Sophie Massoud at this time last year, I guess. And,
yeah.
It's just what thoughts on Evan Simon fitting in this new offense compared to how Sophie would have fit?
It's interesting. We had a lot of questions on what position Soph was going to play, but then the more we watched him at quarterback, we were like, hey, this kid can throw the ball. This kid's a good athlete. He's one of those athlete type kids like your Monsieur Montgomery. A little better, I would say, more skilled, but very, very good athlete, can move around in Soph, but I think that Simon's going to fit in just fine. I think he's going to get used to Coach Gleason. Coach Gleason's very adaptable with his quarterbacks. He'll be able to work with whoever starts under center, whoever stands out the most in training camp. And I think that Evan's going to make his case to be part of that group late in the summer.
So let's go 2021 quarterbacks. Alshon Davis, Taj Bullock. I mean, the list goes on and on. What is so good about this quarterback class in New Jersey that stands out to you?
I think a lot of it is the arm talent. I mean, you look at a guy like Tayshaun Davis compared to last year. Last year, watched him at MetLife against Pennsgrove. He showcased his arm. First play of the game, they did a flea flicker to Chris Long for a touchdown. Then, the rest of the game, he had trouble making the simple throws. This year, you were there at Rutgers. He made the tough throws. He made the simple throws. He made every throw you could ask for him, and you could see the huge strides that he made. And I think that he's a guy that Rutgers, and I know Fran Brown specifically, is going to want to target in this next class. And the same with Taj Bullock. I didn't expect this good of a junior season from him. I would have said, no way. Maybe a good senior season, but it might take him a little bit of time. That's a lot of quarterback lineage there at St. Peter's Prep. You got Wimbush, John Lewis, Maynor, the list goes on and on with those St. Peter's Prep quarterbacks. And I thought that, it would take a while for him to step into that line, but he did it right away, and they won a state championship, and you're seeing how good he is. So I think those two quarterbacks you named right away have got to be, the two top guys, realistically, for Rutgers to go after right now.
So you see Taj Bullock, you see his size. It's eerily similar to Jonathan Lewis. Jonathan Lewis really didn't pan out at quarterback for Rutgers. If Rutgers was to land Bullock, is there concern there?
I think, the thing that makes Bullock a little bit different from John is that I think that Taj does have a little bit of a better arm, and I think he moves around a lot better. I mean, they run a lot of quarterback draws with Taj. He's dropping back, two-step drop, and he's tucking the ball and running right up the middle like a running back. He takes a lot of hits, which I'm a little worried about, but he runs the ball really well. He's quick. He's not afraid to take hits and run through you, but the amount of hits he's taken does concern me a little. But he's different from John in the fact that he can run, and I think that he's got a slightly better arm.
Who else in this class stands out to you? I know there's a ton of targets they're already throwing offers out of Philly, out of North Carolina, out of Florida, out of New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, so on. Who else in this class do you like so far? I know you mentioned Kyrie Benton, you mentioned Corey Walker, but who are these top guys that you like, other than like the St. Joe's guys and all that?
Yeah, I'm going to name one kid in particular, and that's Skylar Bell out of the Taft School. Okay. And I know Ash liked him a lot, and now, Coach Siciliano's, showing him a bit of love too. I think he got a piece of mail wishing him luck in his basketball game a couple weeks ago. So he's already starting to feel the love from this new staff. And he's a kid that has good ball skills. It's that typical guy that Rutgers is going after right now. You're Amir Robinsons, you're Chris Longs. I know Longs obviously playing defensive back, but guys that can make plays on the ball, and that's Skylar Bell. He's got, I believe he's 6'3", 195. I think those are his. I think that's his size, but he's good. I mean, he's very good, and he's a guy that he's probably one of the best players in Connecticut right now, and that's good competition out there with the TAF school, those prep schools. So I think that he's a guy that we'd love to have, and I think they have a good shot at getting him. As long as those big schools don't step in and wreak havoc.
That would be interesting to see on that, his recruitment and all, how it finishes up and all that. Under the radar guy, who's kind of flowing a little bit under the radar. Maybe not that many offers right now, but you could see blowing up this spring after a couple camps.
It's a good question.
It's tough. It's still super early, obviously, but it's a tough one.
Let me think.
I gotta put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, I would probably go with a guy like a man. I'm trying to think of a good one. I know Jake Guy from Don Bosco is pretty small, but he's a guy who can step up and get some offers. I want to see what he looks like during camp season and stuff like that. He's probably going to play guard at the next level. That's my guess. He's probably too small to play tackle, but he's a guy I would like to see. An under the radar guy that can start picking up some offers. I like the tight end from Connecticut. He's actually from Canada, but Luke Foster, Rutgers just offered him.
Yeah.
The tight end class is kind of lean. So I want to see kind of what they do there at tight end. But, he's a guy, Rutgers was his first FBS offer or second FBS offer. So I want to see what they do with Luke Foster. But, those are two guys right there, on the offensive side of the ball at least.
Tight end, definitely interesting considering they have 2-3 scholarship guys right now.
Yeah, they've been snake bit at tight end. But
yeah. It's thin right now, so I'm assuming you're going to have to take at least 2 in this class because Kanopka's going to grow. He's going to outgrow. He's going to be a left tackle or a defensive end. He's going to do one of those. We don't know which one, obviously, yet. We don't know what the staff likes him at. He's going to grow into one of those positions. So you got maybe a year or 2 out of him. Sean Collins, you can even argue he might be a defensive lineman at one point. So right now you're down to Limo, Jonathan Lewis, who's coming off an Achilles injury. You have to take 2, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, that's my guess. I mean, it all depends on who they can find, but I would guess you got to take 2, or at least a receiver with tight end size, or even a tackle with tight end size and some athleticism. It's very lean right now with the class and with Rutgers' depth chart. So, like you said, I think I would go after 2 for sure.
So I know you don't pay attention to the team as much anymore, recruiting wise. Rutgers needs quarterbacks. They got 4 guys. I know we just mentioned Bullock and that, but would they take 2 guys in this class? Because Art Sikowski went in the portal just to leave. If he doesn't get that starting job, there's always a chance he goes right back in.
Yeah, like we talked about, there's always the chance that guy can leave. Well, not Oren specifically, but that one guy, whoever it may be, could leave. So I would assume that that domino falls and they do take 2 guys. Tayshaun Davis told me that he wants to move his recruiting process along. He hopes to get something done in the spring, no matter what school it is. So you would hope that for Rutgers' sake at least, that maybe Bullock's recruitment drags out a little bit, and eventually if that quarterback does leave, he's a guy who can step right in and join the 2021 class. But we'll see. It's tough to call right now, but my guess is, a spot opens up and Coach Siciliano does take 2 guys.
So you, me, and Alex talk about this all the time. It's early signing period. What are your thoughts on this? I know it's kind of, it's pain in the neck for us, if we're being honest, to track these official visitors in spring, but official visitors in spring, you can't sign until December. What are your thoughts on this whole process about signing in December? Because the second period pretty much became a almost dead period at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because a lot of the guys, like you said, everyone signs early. You get some of the kids who drag their process out, and some things out of their control, happen in their recruiting process where they're forced to sign in February. But it's interesting. I still do like, having 2 signing days. I know a lot of people are calling for the February one to get taken out completely, but I would stay with the 2 signing days just because, I mean, look at last year. I mean, how much stuff happened with Rutgers. There was a lot of stuff going on in that second signing day. It's not just Rutgers that a lot of the dominoes fall on that second signing day, but it's a lot of the big schools specifically. That's their blue chip guys take their recruiting process and drag it out, and that's what happens on those second signing days. But it's an interesting topic. I would say that at the very least, there's definitely a debate. It's warranted, but I would definitely stay with the 2. But it's interesting, like I said. It's definitely something to talk about.
So, all New Jersey staff, pretty much. Almost every single guy on this staff has a New Jersey connection, some way, somehow. Gleason, New Jersey guy, born and raised. No Rutgers connection. Panagos worked at Rutgers, has a Jersey connection. Augie Hoffman, former New Jersey high school coach. Nunzio, same case. Taekwondo Underwood, New Jersey guy. So on and so on and so on.
Fran Brown, native of New Jersey.
South Jersey guy right there. Is this going to win over New Jersey guys or what?
It should. And, it's funny. A lot of coaches, a lot of talk about, the Ash situation. They're like, Ryan, like, they don't have any Jersey connections. Like, they can't get any of the Jersey kids. they don't have a lot of Jersey coaches. I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. That's kind of what led to, that's one of the few reasons that led to, Coach Ash's demise. But I think that, the Jersey guys they have in now, it's going to pay dividends. Goes back to, Ash's brass, fence the garden. That's what they want to do now. Yeah. And I know that's a term that probably a lot of people don't like to hear now because it was more so an Ash term. But
I mean, it's a good term. I'm not gonna Garden State. It makes sense. It's clever. I'll give them that.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do. I mean, that's what's got to be done, and that's it's what one of Coach Sciano's main goals was. To keep everybody home, and that's what I think that they're going to strive to do, and that's that's why all these coaches were brought in. They don't want a situation like what happened previously. They want to get these Jersey guys.
So you've been with us for, I want to say, almost 2 years now, right? If I recall correctly. When we first brought you
almost 2 years.
Yeah, something like that. So, what have you learned from recruiting? What stands out to you the most? What kind of irks you the most? I guess.
I think it's a lot of the fake love that the kids get. I hear it from a lot of the kids. Like, I just wanted to end my recruiting process right away as soon as I got X team to offer me or blah blah blah. Just a lot of fake love. A lot of the kids, when they sign their letter of intent, they tell me, "Oh." I asked them, hey, are you relieved? And they're like, yeah, I just hated the recruiting process. It was tedious for some, it was stressful for others, and a lot of the kids hated the BS, if you will, that they were receiving from some of the programs, and I think that that's the big thing that irks me about recruiting. What I love about recruiting is the twists and turns. You get kids that are leaning one school, for months on end, and then all of a sudden another school steps in. Unfortunately, we saw that a lot with Rutgers. These kids, they love Rutgers, and then all of a sudden the Penn State comes in, Michigan, and all of a sudden the entire recruitment changes. But that's interesting about recruiting. That's one thing that I find very interesting, and that I think is pretty cool. Seeing the leaps and bounds these kids make within their recruitment in only short spans of time.
So, what else we got to talk about? I think we covered mostly everything. I mean, you got anything else?
I think that's pretty much it.
That's it.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I mean it's just about everything. So, all right, guys. Rich Schneider, like I said, publisher of the Night Report. I'm here with Ryan Patty, recruiting analyst for our site. You'll stay tuned on the site. You'll see a bunch of his articles. I'm sure within the next probably 10 minutes or so if you're watching this on National Signing Day. So. All right, guys. Ryan, thanks for being with us. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
Yep, talk to you. All right, Rich Schneider right here with Anthony Siciliano. He's one of our film analysts on the site. If you're on the premium side, you already knew that. We're gonna talk a little bit about National Signing Day Part 2. I know Rutgers didn't sign any offensive commits in the second signing period, but they signed a bunch of guys in the first period. Who kind of stands out to you so far?
Yeah, so quarterback Evan Simon, he's 6'3", 211 pounds. He's from Manheim, Pennsylvania, went to Manheim Central. He has a live arm, really good pocket awareness, and he's a good athlete. Is he going to run a 4.5, 4.6 40? Probably not, but he has the legs to almost affect a defense by the way he moves outside the pocket and can also contribute in the ground game. The one thing I love that Evan does inside the pocket is when there's a lot of chaos going on, he keeps his eyes down the field and he doesn't get distracted by any of the defensive line coming at him.
Okay, awesome. So now, obviously, Rutgers hired Sean Gleason, spread offense guy. How does he fit into that type of offense?
I think Evan, out of all the quarterbacks, even the roster, even though Evan hasn't taken a snap at the collegiate level, I think from a throwing arm standpoint, accuracy standpoint, and the way he's able to move mobility-wise, I think he fits the best because I think Gleason's going to be able to lay a foundation with him as his future, the quarterback, if, Evan Simon comes in there and does what he's supposed to do. And honestly, Gleason runs a little bit of a pro style, a little bit of spread. So he has different schemes that he can kind of tailor to the skill set of not only the quarterback, but also the running backs, the receivers, the tight ends, and including the offensive line at the interior position.
Okay, so now who else in this class stands out to you? Who else is going to fit in Gleason's offense pretty well?
Yeah, so another guy I really like is wide receiver Ameer Robin. He's Jersey, went to Union High School. He's 6'2", 195 pounds. He has the ability to stay low out of his breaks when breaking out of his cuts, routes. Also, he has strong hands when he high points the football, and he understands coverages when he's running his routes. So say if it's cover 2 and he's in the slot on a certain play and he's running a 10-yard out, he knows that they're in zone coverage and that corner sit in the flats, he knows that he can stop his route halfway and sit in between the zone, which also helps the quarterback out. He knows that he's helping him out by understanding coverages while he's running the route.
So now, like we said before, you know a lot about Gleason's offense. You did a little research on it. You know a lot about Amir Robinson. How does he fit? I know you mentioned the slot a little bit. Would he be an outside guy more often? What do you think there?
I think for Amir, I think he's versatile that he can play in the slot and outside. I think he's a really good one-on-one receiver. I think later in his senior year of the season, he really took advantage of that. But also he could be used in the slot by catching passes through traffic in the middle of the field. So he shows that ability where, hey, coach, I could be on the outside and be a one-on-one guy for you in the red zone, say, and then say if they're on the 50-yard line in the middle of the field, he could be used in many different ways.
Gotcha. So now we know Rutgers offense struggled a lot last year. One of the biggest things that they struggled with was pass protection and run protection. The trenches, who stands out among that group that's coming in?
Yeah, so Brian Felter, an offensive tackle and an offensive guard. He's a 6'3", 290 pounds. He's from Oradell, New Jersey, went to Bergen Catholic High. And Brian is a very violent offensive lineman. He has great skill set also when moving laterally. There's a couple plays on his film when you watch on screen games, he gets out of there really good, and he gets to the second level of the defense, and he's able to shoot his hands and destroy defensive linemen and linebackers through the ground. He's just a really violent pass blocker. He loves to get dirty, and he's a really good player.
So now I know we talked about it's supposed to be all recruiting today because National Signing Day. But what about this Rutgers offense stood out a little bit last season? I know it wasn't the best in the country. It actually might have been one of the worst in the country at some point. But what stands out about them? I know they have a couple guys in Pacheco, Bo Melton coming back. So what stands out to you?
I think it's just the young skill set that they have. I think this year, obviously, with Coach Ash being fired midway through the season, and that's obviously something that you don't want because then another offensive coach is going to eventually come in and put a new scheme and a new playbook, and players are going to have to adapt to that. But I thought with the situation that they handed with Coach Nunzio Campanelli at the helm for the rest of the season, I thought they responded really well. Coach Campanelli brought a fiery, competitive edge, and I think the players really took to that. Later in the half of the season, look at Penn State. Rutgers really fought throughout the whole game against a really good football team in Penn State. So I think offensively, Rutgers just has to find consistency from the offensive coaching staff with the players. If they can connect together, there's such great talent on that team at a young skill set. The sky's the limit for that team. There's no reason why they can't build from the ground up.
And we're going to go a little more, even more off topic at this point. And you were recruited by a couple of the Rutgers assistants. Which ones recruited you out of high school, and what stands out about those guys?
Yeah, so Coach Jim Pagano's surprisingly recruited me. Now he's back at Rutgers, which is awesome. He recruited the Central Florida area, and we had a great relationship. He came down to Florida, came to visit me once or twice, came to my spring game as well. And I think they're getting the coaches that Coach Siciliano is bringing in is coaches that are going to be developing relationships with these players. So when a lot of people ask, "Oh, what are these coaches like?" From a one-on-one level, these coaches care about these players not only as football players but individuals. They want to make sure that they're successful after football, and I think that's really important because a lot of guys get caught up in just football, 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 but they don't understand that hey, at Rutgers you have the opportunity. You got New York City right there. You have all those opportunities to take your degree and take it to another level, and those coaches are going to express that to those kids and say, hey, if you want to come to Rutgers, we have great resources for you here. Come to Rutgers, play in the Big Ten, but also you're going to get a great degree and you're going to get a great job no matter if you play in the NFL or not.
So last one I got for you, Rutgers hired Augie Hoffman, the high school coach, former offensive lineman, NFL, college level, but he's coaching running backs. How difficult is that for a coach to coach running backs out of nowhere after coaching or playing offensive line his entire life?
I think I know why they're having him as a running backs coach because obviously he was an offensive lineman. He's obviously coached at St. Joe's Montvale, a very successful high school. And for him to be the running backs coach at Rutgers, he's going to be able to understand blocking schemes and teaching the running backs how to hit the hole, where to find the gaps, how to read the defensive linemen's techniques and understanding where on zone runs, on man-on-man runs, gap runs, especially whether it's a pro style or spread offense. So I think that he has from playing as an offensive lineman, I think is going to be valuable for the running backs because the running backs are going to be able to learn and understand from an offensive lineman's mindset, okay, hey, this is where the guard's going to pull and where he's trying to go to the second level. Or, hey, this is where the tackle's going to be going on zone read runs. He's going to leave that end alone. So now it's on me if I either have to pick him up in pass blocking or in a run game, hey, I have that cutback alley to go back to.
So it sounds like he's going to fit pretty well in this offense then. So, Ant, appreciate it. Thanks for everything. Guys, stay tuned for Anthony's evaluations, all kinds of pieces on the Night Report, premium side only. Sign up today, 30-day free trial. Go to the Rutgers.rivals.com and just sign up. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Ant.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich.
All right, Rich Schneider right here. I'm here with Alex Simpson. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2020 signing class. I know, obviously, it's the second signing period now.
Right.
A couple of recent dudes, kind of one of the little, dead period guys that signed was Wesley Bailey. Can tell me a little bit about him?
Wesley Bailey's a super raw athlete. He's about 6'5", has great size. He's originally from Canada, but plays his high school ball in Florida. Just a solid pass rusher. Does a terrific job of getting to the quarterback. He's really fast off the line of scrimmage. We saw that right away on tape. It's just his speed is really flashy. I think with some time in the weight room, he's going to be a really solid prospect for Rutgers in the end. Had a couple other Power 5 offers, but chose Rutgers in the end. I'm really excited to see his development at Rutgers.
So I know we talked about this a little bit before, but if you had to compare him to an NFL guy, NCAA guy, some big name guy to compare him to, who do you think he could be in the future, and who should get Rutgers fans excited?
I think with his size, his length, his speed, his physicality, he compares best to Jadeveon Clowney. I say that because he's a very physical. It's a big comparison, I know. But this is somebody that I could really see flourishing in Rutgers defense as a pass rusher and getting to the quarterback and also reading the run as well. He does a great job of shedding blockers and making some solid tackles behind the line of scrimmage. So this is somebody that I could see really making plays, and Jadeveon Clowney is my best comparison.
Awesome. So now, who else in this class kind of stands out to you? I know there's a couple other dudes that you were thinking about talking.
Irene Power is definitely somebody that really stands out right away. His length at about 6'4", 205 pounds. But he was a safety in high school. Also played a bit of quarterback. He's a terrific athlete, but he definitely projects best at outside linebacker at the next level. So with some time in the Rutgers weight room in the Big Ten, he's going to be a terrific asset to that defense. He's a hard-hitting safety, but now will be a linebacker. Does a great job in coverage. Just the thing that really stood out right away is just how fast he tracks the football and how physical he is. He's a very physical player. He's a nasty type of player. So, nastiness just some great level of playing in the Big Ten, and he's going to do a great job of playing linebacker in the Big Ten for Rutgers.
So I'm going to ask you the same question. You used to be a linebacker in college.
Right.
Who would you compare him to, and how could you see him developing a little more?
Oh, that's a tough question, honestly. But I mean, the best comparison I would probably compare him to. I'm a big UCLA guy. I'm from Los Angeles. Definitely Anthony Barr would be somebody that I compare him to, because I could see him coming off the line of scrimmage. I could also see him in coverage as well. Anthony Barr does a little bit of both. So I think obviously Irene Power played a little bit of DB, but with him a little bit of time and development in the weight room, he's going to be a great pass rusher and a great guy in coverage as well for Rutgers, and just be a big dominant force in the Big Ten.
Awesome. So now who's the number 3 guy that you would talk about?
The number 3 guy, another hometown product as Tyrene is. He's staying in New Jersey, representing that R block and playing for Greg Schiano, Elijah Mack. He stuck his commitment out with Greg Schiano, loved what he saw with the staff on his official visit, and he's just a terrific player, a hard-hitting guy. He does a great job at clotheslining on the football, and he also does a great job at man-on-man coverage and zone coverage as well. He's just a terrific player, has a great vision of the football field, and his instincts pop out immediately on tape. So this is somebody that I think could be a day one guy in Piscataway.
Obviously, the biggest thing this offseason, Rutgers hired Greg Schiano, defensive-minded coach, you're a defensive player.
Right.
How much of an impact do you think he'll have in year one, and how can he turn this program around?
I think he can turn this program around. He's got a great resume. He coached at another Big Ten fellow in Ohio State. He's coming back to Rutgers. He knows how to recruit the state of New Jersey and knows how to recruit the East Coast. I think it's going to take him a year or two to really develop and be dominant in the Big Ten. I think he's going to get Rutgers fans excited again. They're already excited on Twitter. I see it right now. The R block is something that's even seen on the back of cars on the windows. This is something that is exciting. Rutgers football is exciting again. And he's going to take Rutgers to the top, I think. It's just going to take a few years to really develop that. But things are looking good for Rutgers and Greg Schiano.
So one last thing, I'm going to put you on the spot once again. Rutgers added, I want to say, 4, 5, 6 transfers now at this point.
Right.
Who stands out in that defensive end? I know they added a couple defensive linemen, a big safety at Ohio State. Who stands out the most to you?
Who stands out the most to me is just his big dominant presence, Ireland Burke. Ireland Burke, he's a transfer from Boston College. This is a guy that is just absolutely dominant in the interior. He just gets me really fired up and excited. He's got a big body. He's about 285 pounds, and he's 6'3". He's just got a dominant presence, and his hands just fire out right away from the line of scrimmage. He's got a terrific burst, and he's super physical. He's nasty, and he's also really fast off the line. So I watched him in his first play pick up a fumbled punt and take it for 35 yards to the end zone for a touchdown. And a guy at 285 pounds, he was moving, man. So this is somebody that Rutgers fans should be really excited about, transferring from Boston College and coming back home and playing for Rutgers.
Definitely, man. So, it'll be interesting to see if he gets that waiver or not. If he does, sounds like fans could be pretty excited about him.
Most definitely, for sure.
Awesome. Appreciate everything, Alec. I'll talk to you soon. Everyone keep an eye on Alec's stuff. He'll be at the Night Report nonstop.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like, the subscribe button, comment below. Obviously, this is going to be on the boards too. Feel free. Anything you think we could do better, always open to comments, complaints, advice, anything. Feel free to hit us up on the boards, Twitter, Instagram, any type of social media. And like I said, hit that subscribe button, and I hope you guys enjoyed.